Chapter 12. Naja became irritated and cast his sky-muddling damask into the air at the Dragon Prince. Thousands of fireballs suddenly appeared, enveloping the third prince and sweeping him from his mount. Naja rushed over, trod on his neck, and lifting his universal ring, struck the prince on the head. The third prince resumed his true form and lay stretched out motionless on the ground. What a surprise! I've beaten this young dragon into his true form. I'll take his main tendon and make my father a dragon belt for a present. Naja said to himself. When he had taken the tendon from the dead dragon, he left the place at once and returned to the pass. The scene had so terrified the guard that he had gone weak and could scarcely walk. "My son, where have you been? Why did it take you so long?" his mother asked him. "I just wandered out beyond the pass. I forgot the time and so returned late." Before long, Li Jing returned from the military exercises. He dismissed his attendants, removed his armor, and went to the back hall. He sat there worrying about the rebellion of the marquises and the ever-increasing hardship people were suffering. Ao Guang was waiting in his palace when he got the news of his son's death. He was told that Naja, son of Commander Li Jing of Chentang Pass, killed the third prince and cruelly drew out his tendon. He was shocked. "My son was god of clouds and rain and plant life, created by the Jade Emperor. Who dares to strike him a mortal blow? Li Jing, we met once when you were studying the way at West Kunlun Mountain. How could you allow your son to wickedly murder mine? This injustice can never be erased. Your son's got the gall to take the tendon from my son's body. I'm burning with hatred." In a great rage and eager to avenge his son, Ao Guang transformed himself into a scholar and made his way directly to Chentang Pass. Hearing that it was Ao Guang, Li Jing was delighted. "I've been separated from my brother Ao Guang for years and have missed him sorely. It must be a blessing from heaven that we're to meet today," he said. He straightened his clothes, hurried out, and invited Ao Guang into the main hall. They greeted each other and sat down. Seeing that Ao Guang was boiling with rage, Li Jing was bemused. He was about to question him when Ao Guang began. "Worthy brother, how lucky you are to have such a good son." Li Jing smiled. "Brother, we haven't seen each other for many years. How happy I am that heavens blessed us with this meeting. Why do you speak so abruptly? I've got 3 sons, Jingjia, Mujia, and Naja, and each has been adopted by a sage as a disciple. Though they're not so good, they're not rascals, either. Please don't get a wrong impression of them." "Brother, you're the one with the wrong impression. One of your sons took a bath at the Nine Bend River today. Using some magic weapon, he shook the waters until my crystal palace nearly collapsed. I sent my yaksha to find out what was going on, but your son beat him to death. When I sent my third son to see what had happened, he was also beaten to death, and his tendon was cut out. How can you be so unreasonable as to defend his crimes?" The Dragon King was bitter, but Li Jing hurriedly comforted him with a smile. "You've blamed me wrongly, brother. It couldn't have been one of my sons. My eldest son's at the 5 Dragon Mountain, the second at the 9 Palace Mountain. The third is just 7 years old and stays indoors all day long. How could any of them have done such a thing? It was your third son, Naja," Ao Guang said with assurance. "That's most odd. Don't get impatient, brother. Let me bring him out here and you can see for yourself." Without any delay, Li Jing rushed to the back hall to see his wife, who asked, "Who's the visitor in the main hall?" "My old friend, Ao Guang. He complains that his third son was killed by Naja. I'll get Naja to see him, and he'll see that it's not true." "Where is Naja now?" Madame Yin thought to herself. This is the first time Naja went outside to play. How could he have done such a thing? Not daring to tell him, she said simply, "He's playing in the back garden." Li Jing entered the back garden. "Where are you, Naja? Come here at once," he shouted. Receiving no reply, Li Jing went to Begonia Hall but found the door bolted. He shouted again. Nija immediately opened the door and came out to meet his father. "What are you doing here, son?" "As I had nothing to do today, I went out to the Nine Bend River. It was very hot and so I bathed in the river. Then Li Zhen the Yaksha appeared and swore at me most foully. He ruthlessly chopped at me with his axe. I lost my patience and knocked him off with my universal ring. Then some third prince called Ao Bing rushed at me, brandishing a lance, but I captured him with my sky-muddling damask. I trod on his neck and knocked him with my universal ring. He turned into a dead dragon with just one blow. I've heard that the main tendon of a dragon is very valuable, so I took it to make a dragon tendon belt for you." Li Jing was stunned and speechless. It was a long time before he cried out, "Woe is me! Don't you know that you've got me into trouble and endless suffering? You'd better come with me to see your uncle and tell him what you did." "Don't worry, father. As I didn't do it deliberately, I shouldn't be considered guilty. I haven't done anything to his son's tendon yet. It's all here in one piece if he would like to have it. Let me go and see him." When Nija reached the main hall with his father, he rushed up and greeted Ao Guang. "Uncle, I've unknowingly committed an error and offended you. I beg you earnestly to forgive me. Here's the tendon in perfect condition. I haven't done anything to it yet." Looking at it, Ao Guang felt even more grief-stricken. "Your son's so wicked, yet you try to tell me that I'm wrong. Now that he's admitted to his crime, how can you be so cold and unsympathetic? Moreover, my son was a god, and the Yaksha was appointed by the Jade Emperor. How could you take it upon yourselves to murder them in cold blood? I'll report this case to the Jade Emperor tomorrow, and have you both severely dealt with." He threatened and stormed out in a fury. Li Jing began to stamp his feet and bewail the great calamity. Hearing his cries, Madame Yin found out from her attendants what had happened and hurried to the main hall herself to comfort him. When she came to him, Li Jing stopped crying and said, "It was bad luck enough that I failed to become an immortal, but now you've produced this wonderful son. He's going to bring destruction on our whole family. The Dragon Prince was the god of rain, and now Nijaz murdered him. Ao Guang's bound to report this case to heaven tomorrow, and within no more than 3 days we'll all turn to ghosts under the sword." He began to weep again. Madame Yin also wept. "I suffered for 3.5 years to give birth to you. Who would have guessed that you would be the ruin of our family?" She pointed at Nija and accused him. Nija felt extremely upset and knelt down before them. "Let me tell you the truth, father and mother. I'm not an ordinary mortal, but the disciple of Fairy Primordial at the Golden Light Cave on Qianyun Mountain, and these weapons were all bestowed on me by him. It would certainly be impossible for Ao Guang to get the better of me. I'll now go straight to Qianyun Mountain and ask my master how to deal with the matter. He'll surely help us out," he said, then declared, "I've caused all this trouble, and I hold myself responsible for it. I won't get you involved." He then left the room. Picking up a handful of earth and throwing it into the air, he disappeared. Using his magic powers, he flew on the dust to Qianyun Mountain. He soon arrived, was ushered in by Golden Haze Lad, and knelt before Fairy Primordial. "Why don't you stay at Chentong Pass? Why do you come here to see me?" his master asked. Nija explained what had happened and begged his master for help. Though Nija killed Ao Bing by mistake, it was in fact destined by fate. Even though Ao Guang is the king of dragons, he's only assigned to gather clouds and distribute the rain. He should understand the celestial phenomena that indicate political trends in the near future. It would be absurd to trouble heaven with such a minor matter. Fairy Primordial thought and said, "Come over here, Nija. Unbutton your coat and shirt." Nija did as his master ordered. The immortal drew an invisibility charm with his fingers on Nija's chest and ordered, Go to the precious virtue gate of the heavenly palace and do the following. When you've finished, return directly to Chentong Pass. Should there be any more trouble, come to see me. I'll always help you. Nothing will happen to your parents. You may go now." Nijia left Qiangyong Mountain and made his way directly to the precious virtue gate of the heavenly palace. Everything in heaven was different from on earth. Rays of golden light, shining in all directions, produced thousands of beautiful rainbows, and an auspicious purple haze hung in the air. The south heavenly gate was built entirely of green-blue glazed bricks, and was decorated with numerous dazzling precious tripods. On each side of the gate were 4 huge pillars around which coiled red-bearded dragons, whose duty it was to make rain by gathering clouds and fog. Just within the gate were 2 jade bridges, on each of which stood or danced multicolored phoenixes. The heavenly palace complex contained 36 splendid palaces and 72 immense halls, constructed with massive jade pillars, carved with the images of unicorns. Beneath the numerous terraces were wonderful gardens with exotic grasses and eternal flowers. Among the precious furnaces were the furnace for refining the elixir of life, the divination furnace, and the water fire furnace, in which were planted evergreen fragrant grass. The hall for worshipping the sages was full of officials dressed in brilliant purple silk robes, and standing or kneeling on the stone steps were numerous officers wearing lotus coronets that glittered in the golden light. Inside the spiritual firmament hall, golden dragons coiled on the jade doors, while at the hall for the worthies, phoenixes danced in front of the pearl gates. Long, winding corridors were exquisitely wrought with wonderful carvings. Pretty birds darted gracefully in and out under the eaves. At the ends of roof ridges were shining purple gourd-shaped adornments, and just under the roof hung jade bells that rang with sweet tunes in mild breeze. Inside the heavenly palace were many rare and precious things. The walls and beams were made of silver, gold, and jade. Anyone who had the good fortune to enter the heavenly palace would never be polluted by the vulgar world again. It was still early when Nijia reached the precious virtue gate. Ao Guang had not yet arrived, and the palace gates had not yet opened. He waited at the gate for the worthies for a long while before he saw Ao Guang in his official robes striding swiftly towards the south heavenly gate. Finding the gate still closed, Ao Guang said to himself, "I've arrived too early. The heavenly guards haven't come to open the gates yet. I'll have to wait here." Though Nijia was standing close, he was invisible to the Dragon King because Fairy Primordial had drawn a charm on his chest. The idea that Ao Guang was to accuse him before the Jade Emperor and have him punished angered Nijia. Rushing over, he raised his universal ring and struck Ao Guang a heavy blow on the back. As Ao Guang fell to the ground, Nijia trod on his neck, ready to deal with him. If you want to know what happened to Ao Guang, you must read the next chapter.